What is up, everybody? This is Steve Breach coming to you here, counting down to a big edition of WWE's Monday Night Raw, which is going to be taking place. I don't even know where the show is, but it's going to be Raw Reunion. Lots of big names coming back. They're treating this like a Raw Homecoming, a Raw 1000th edition of Raw, or a Raw 25th anniversary. They're treating this like a big one because they're trying to get people back into WWE Monday Night Raw before SummerSlam, before the kickoff of NFL football. They're just trying to get everybody back into the swing of it. There's no doubt that a lot of people are sort of coming up as saying WWE storylines are kind of stale and things don't mix with what's going down there. My good buddy, freaking yeah 88 at it's Miguel Yo, however you keep up with him. Recently he said that he hasn't watched an edition of Monday Night Raw, I believe since June. And, he says he's not coming back until he hears that they really are changing things. If anything is going to get Miguel to come back to watch an edition of Monday Night Raw, even if it's just watching the clips or watching some sort of a highlight reel, I think it's going to be the reunion, because it's going to be a lot of old legends that he really has respect for, and I'm hoping that they could do something to make him flip on the show. To me, two of those guys is going to be Razor Ramon and Diesel making their return to Monday Night Raw. Although we have seen Scott Hall, we have seen Kevin Nash. They left. They formed the NWO back in 1996. They were with WCW until their dying days in 2001. They came back at the No Way Out pay-per-view in 2002, but they came back as Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. We never have really seen, Kevin Nash and Diesel return to WWE Monday Night Raw, besides for the fake Diesel and fake Razor Ramon that came into the company back in 1996. I think that Diesel ended up becoming Kane, and I don't know who the Razor Ramon guy was, but these guys were jokes in the company for about a year, where they came in with some hype, and if you listen to the Kevin Nash and Scott Hall shoot interviews, WCW was even scared to the point where they already had them under contract, but they went. Basically, this is the story. JR, who was doing commentary on Monday Night Raw, basically said that next week we got a returning Diesel and a returning Razor Ramon. WCW already had them under contract, but were scared that somehow they had found a loophole to jump back to Monday Night Raw. Basically came and re-signed them to newer deals that were longer, that had more money on them. Basically gave them a raise for them doing nothing, by Jim Ross basically saying that they were going to be returning. WCW gave them more money, and on the next edition of Monday Night Raw, we had fake Razor Ramon and fake Diesel come out, and that ended up being a storyline where Jim Ross turned heel, and those guys flopping. They had a few things that panned out on Monday Night Raw. I don't think they ever won matches, and if they did, they never involved them being featured on pay-per-views. I think the last time that both of those guys were doing anything was the Royal Rumble, and then by that time they just said there's no traction to this at all, and just sort of scrapped it and moved in a different direction. And then fake Diesel would end up becoming Kane, and then I think fake Razor Ramon ended up just falling off the face of the earth, that we never saw him again. It would be pretty cool if we got to see, when we see Scott Hall show up on Raw, we don't really show him in the wrestling gear. He doesn't really do shows anymore. He, does autograph signings and things like that. But although he got into shape like 12, 13 years ago, he was sort of in shape for the TNA run with the band. That's what they called them. They didn't get to call him the Click or anything like that, but going off of a line they used back in WCW in 2001, where they got the NWO, where the band got back together, they called themselves the Band. That doesn't sound right, but I think that's what they called themselves in TNA or something like that. And they got Eric Young in there, and it is what it is. But I think it would be pretty cool if we actually saw Kevin Nash and Scott Hall show up as Razor and Diesel in the actual wrestling gear, as close as you can get it, basically acting like they're really making their return to their company, and this is the first time that they've come back. Maybe even playing off the fact, Eric Bischoff's going to be there, Hulk Hogan's going to be there, although I think they would use him as Hulk rather than use him as Hollywood. If they did some sort of a skit, they could even use Triple H and Shawn Michaels, where basically they make their mind up that they're, turning their back on the NWO and going back to WWE, and basically sort of shifting time, basically saying that they really wish that they never jumped to WCW. Although I think that every wrestling fan that is sitting here today is thinking that that is something that made wrestling better. But WWE, especially Vince, they always got to make themselves look right. And even if it is, 20 years down the road, them having one skit on Raw, which basically Razor and Diesel say that they wish they never would have left WWE and gone to WCW. In Vince's mind, that makes everything all right, and everything that happened with them going to WCW is erased. I think it would be pretty stupid, but in my mind, it might be the best way that you can use them. So let me know what you guys think. How are they going to use Razor and Diesel? On Raw. This is gonna be the first time they're featured since leaving to go join WCW, which launched the NWO. Let me know what you guys think they're gonna do with them, because I think that's two of the names that I think really do matter in the long run, other than maybe Stone Cold doing something with Kevin Owens. Everybody else will probably just be sitting in a back room with the APA playing poker, just like Raw 25.